Chancellor Professor Balram, who's been a mentor to a number of students and scholars of science, Principal Scientific Advisor Professor Ajay Sood, who's been a teacher to almost 3 generations, a very dynamic Director General Dr. Kalai Selvi, Director Academy of CSIR Professor Manoj Dhar, Professor Ajay Dhar, the 4 distinguished recipients of the Doctor of Science degree, Professor Machelkar, Professor Brahmachari, Dr. Ramaswamy, Professor Bhargav, each one of them a living legend amongst us. And my first thought after observing the proceedings in the last half an hour or so was that each of the 4 recipients has dedicated his success and his degree to his mother. Which speaks volumes of the woman power that this country had inherited. Maybe in the time when they were born, more than half a century earlier. But it's now that the woman power is actually receiving recognition, and each one of us as students of science is being taught to speak not without evidence. And I think the evidence before you in personification is the first woman Director General of CSIR. And the credit goes to the government headed by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And I'm sure the chronicle writers will one day also try to answer this question. Why India had to wait 75 years and CSIR 80 years to get its first woman Director General, particularly at a time when all the leading scientists were actually mentored, nourished, inspired, groomed by women. Having said that, I have to compliment Professor Manoj Dhar and his team. I'm glad to know that Professor Manoj Dhar joined this institution with a rich experience behind him. I had known him as a scientist, as a researcher of biotechnology, then also as a Vice Chancellor. And therefore, when he joined this family of CSIR, he carried a wealth of experience with him. And within just 1 or 2 years, he has contributed tremendously to the enrichment of this institution and also making its visibility much, much more obvious. Even though ICSIR is a relatively younger institution in the family of CSIR, it's hardly entering its adolescence, or may I say teenage, but the time span may be short, but the journey has been very rewarding. And I think what we need to tell others also outside the fraternity is that this is possibly based on a relatively new and a relatively futuristic concept, at least in India. And the awards, the degrees, the masters, the doctorates are at pan-India locations, which makes it unique. And the wide range of courses, as Professor Manoj Dhar was rightly pointing out, from engineering to biosciences, to mathematics, to information sciences, and very recently the Faculty of Medical Research and the Faculty of Agriculture Research. So covering this entire spectrum in a single campus, in a single institution, is possibly the concept of the university curriculum, which was followed in some of the universities abroad and is relatively new to India. And to that extent, I may say that Academy of CSIR is possibly the torchbearer of a new academic culture and a new academic curriculum, in this country, which would be realized as we move on, because it's not been very visible in its short journey. And I think in a very short span of time, it has been able to leverage itself by aligning with as many as 82 important academic institutions, which belong to CSI, of course, also to the ICMR, to the DST, to NIF. And I'm glad that last year I had the destined privilege, because Minister happens to be an incidental person in any ceremony, but I was around when the iPhD was started. And I think using the modern means of information and communication, like social media, etc., we need to do much more talking about it, because it's almost been 1 year, but it's hardly known to the rest of the country what it's all about. And some of them are quite confused. But I think this is an entirely new concept and something which I have been talking about, that if you create startups, how do you sustain them? So sustainable startup is a bigger challenge than initiating a startup. And therefore you need to have a wider synergy of academia, research, industry, science. And iPhD is basically a concept which is inspired and motivated by a thought. And that's something that we need to tell in plain language across the country, so that we are able to attract more and more of youngsters into it. And I, for example, stands for innovation, for imagination, for industry. This combining innovation, imagination, and linking industry right from day one, you join your PhD course. So it's a very novel concept, but a beautiful concept. And I think that is what is going to take India forward. And it is also very much in keeping with the priorities of the Modi government, at least at two levels. One is the startup policy, which was brought by this government. And from 350 or 400, we are now almost 1.7 lakh. We are rated number 3 in the world ecosystem of startups. In Global Innovation Index, we jumped 41 places from 81 to 40. We also initiated ourselves in a big way in the newer areas of startup, like for example, space, we were just 1 digit. Again, we opened up to industry. So I think we stand vindicated. And iPhD is in fact a sequence to that kind of an approach. From 1 digit, we are now 300 in space startups. And some of them are world class. And many of them are also turning entrepreneurs. Each day you find a new entrepreneur turning into in the space sector and making a fortune out of it. Then the other newer areas, biotechnology, we're just 50 today, we are more than 8,000, nearly 9,000. We are now looking forward to contribute to the country's economy, which was just about 100 billion, 10 billion US dollars. Now it's gone up almost from 130 or 150 billion dollars. We look forward to being 300, and that's going to be the means of the new industrial revolution, the next industrial revolution. Our agri startups, again I have to compliment CSR for having gifted the country with the concept of purple revolution, the lavender startups, more than 3,000 of them. The Prime Minister acknowledged that success story in his Man Ki Baat program. And the government was encouraging enough to include it as one of the tableaus in the Republic Day parade this year at Kartavya Path. So now is the time when the country is talking about us, talking about science, and has also got used to celebrating science, which was not happening till a few years ago. And I think that's also to a great extent possible because we have a political dispensation which is quite compatible, which is quite forward-looking, which is quite supporting. The other priority program of the government with which this course is linked is our National Education Policy 2020, NEP 2020. I keep telling students wherever I go, I said you are lucky because you are no longer the prisoners of the subject that your parents chose for you. Of course, some of you were lucky, your mothers were wise enough to choose the subject that got you into a successful destination. Many others are not, because many of us came from a background where the parents and ancestors did not know much about the world. I come from a background where I've known people who got admission into engineering school after graduation. And I asked some of them, I said, why did you do so? From my own village. They said, we were never told that the minimum qualification is class 12. So we were just going on in the rut. And then we saw some of our colleagues. By the time we had completed our BSc, we saw some of them into the final year of engineering. And then we asked, how did you get it? So, for a country as heterogeneous, of course, now the things have changed thanks to the information technology revolution, and the information is transmitted so easily in real time. But we have seen those times. And therefore, the national education policy allows you to change your subjects. For example, if your parents wanted you to be a doctor, of course, everybody can't be as brilliant as Dr. Machelkar to live up to the expectations of his mother. But if it was someone like me or someone else, and you couldn't make it after class 12 or after graduation, what do? You have no choice but to go in for post-graduation in the same subject. And then what? Try your luck in civil services, because in any case, at the end of the day, you need to make a livelihood to fend for yourself, even for your mother. You can't let her die starving. And after MS, then if you don't make it, then you go in for a PhD. And the same subject keeps haunting you, changing you. Because your parents thought you would be a doctor. You didn't become a doctor, but the biosciences haunted you all your life. Here, I think it's an extremely revolutionary decision. You can juggle your subjects. It is fascinating. I went to some of the universities in Madras, some of the colleges affiliated to Madras University, where it was fascinating to see students combining economics with biotechnology. And of course, the student was fascinated, so I asked one of the teachers. She said, I'm absolutely delighted to teach these students because it's a learning experience for me as well. So you can juggle your subjects, you can change your subjects, you can combine the subjects. So this is a newer concept, and I think ACSIR is an academy which is catering in enriching that concept. And as Professor Dhar was saying, it ranks almost 3 to 4% among the universities across the world. He didn't receive the kind of applause which he deserved for this statement. And I tell you why. I tell you why. Because we speak like scientists to scientists, but also speak like scientists to the non-scientists. So there are two sections of people in this society. One who know that they don't know. So they look for a library. Others who don't know that they don't know. So we have to address that section which doesn't know that it doesn't know. And 3% among 20,000 means that we are among the first 300 in the world. That is what we are doing. Or maybe 600. So it's 5 to 600 maximum. If you take 3% of the 20,000. So it's a huge, huge achievement for a university, an academy which is just, as I said, entering into its teenage. And that is something we need to tell the people across, the students across, so that they can opt for this in larger numbers and benefit out of this facility, which is quite new, quite unique to the academic world of India. And of course, when he was talking about the foreign universities with which they are having joint PhD programs, like the University of Western Australia, the Deakin University Australia, the University of Turku in Finland, AIST Japan, RIMT, and I'm sure Professor Bhargav will bear me out, these universities would not collaborate with any other university overseas unless they are themselves convinced about the merit of doing so. You can't lobby for that. You can't carry a recommendation for that. You can't bribe them for that. Which means we have stood that litmus test of receiving recognition for some of the best universities across the world, which are ready to collaborate with our PhD program. So that is a great achievement. And as I said, India no longer waits now to be there. We are now in a position to lead. And that did happen. We always waited for other technologies to be experimented in other parts of the world. And when the success did happen, we started adopting them. By that time, they would go to the next generation. So, for example, television happened there in 1950s. We adopted it in 70s with a weekly Chitrahar. By the time we started black and white, they were already into color. But it's no longer today. We are among the 5 or 6 nations which are into the quantum technology. We are among the first in the world to have rolled out a biotechnology policy very recently, 2 months back, called BioE3, biotechnology for economy, for employment, for environment. And that's a futuristic approach because we know the merits of biotechnology. So we, and of course space, where we started off in 1969 when America had only landed on the surface of the moon, but today we have landed on the southern pole before others. So, with that kind of confidence and esteem, we have to move forward. And as was rightly mentioned by Professor Machelkar, this futuristic vision of Academy of CSIR also is closely aligned with Prime Minister Modi's vision of Viksit Bharat 2047, because this is the academy which in letter and spirit and practically seeks to follow global methods, global strategies, global standards, global benchmarks, and global patterns in academics and research. And this precisely, ladies and gentlemen, will shape the face of India of 2047. Congratulations once again.